Hey fam, welcome, good night. This is Kam, and tonight I want us to talk about eating. Eating. And the question is, are you particular about who you eat from? Right? The question in the topic says, do you eat from people? In Jamaica, we have a lot of different terminologies that we use when you go around and eat from people. I remember a song, if you notice in the title, for those who know that song that Tiger did, dancehall artist Tiger did. I think it was in the 80s or maybe early 90s. No one got. You remember that song? No one got, no one got belly, no licky licky, no nyami nyami. What we mean by that, we're referring to those persons who just go around and eat from anybody. Wherever the food is, wherever the food is available, they will eat. Right? We have a saying, they have some people who give off a pea soup. So them go to the person's house and they're entertaining the person, watching the pot, watching as the dinner cook, right? Providing all kind of joke and giving laugh, literally giving laugh, right? You're entertaining the person while the dinner is being prepared. You give laugh for pea soup, right? They're waiting for the person to finish cook and then you get and for some people this is how they get their dinner. They don't prepare dinner at home. Some of them don't have it. Some just choose to be parasitic. That's their existence. Parasitic, right? And they don't mind living off people. And they don't have much standards where it no matter how the food tastes, it don't matter how the food was prepared. It don't even matter to them if the person go and chat them when them gone. They don't care what the person is gonna say behind their back. They don't care what was put in the food. They don't have any standards really. All they want to know is that they get something to eat. And then you have some other persons like myself who are very particular. Especially, hi sis, good night. Especially when it comes to what you're taking into your body, right? For different reasons. For me, it's just a matter of I'm very particular. Very clean when it comes to my food. And also very particular in terms of health, right? So I'm a vegetarian and certain things have to be prepared certain way. So you won't find me going all over the place and just eating from anybody. You also have persons who they won't eat from you, not because of any standards they have regarding the type of food or how clean the food is per se, but they won't eat from people because they might feel that you grudge them or you're going to put something in the food to harm them, right? Because this is a part of our culture too. People will go to the obia man or obia woman and get certain concoctions which they feel have power. This is a part of our culture. It's an undeniable part of our culture. A lot of us pretend that it doesn't exist, but it does. You have persons who believe in this. They believe that certain people have powers And if they get these mixtures and these oils and these powders, and they, find a way to put it in the food, and the other person eats it, they believe that it can have whatever influence they want it to have, whether it's for the person to love them, for the person to stay with them, to tie the person, as we say in Jamaica, or to hinder the person, to stop the person from progressing. Maybe they feel that this person is getting too far in life too quick, or acting too high and mighty, and they want to cut this person down to size. It is a part of our culture where a lot of us believe that we can get these potions, these mixtures, these oils, these powders. And some women use their bodily secretions, right, to put it in the food, lace the food, to so-called tie their men, to make the men addicted to them, bound to them, can't leave them. It's just a reality of our culture. Whether you want to pretend that it exists or it don't exist, people have these beliefs, right? And whether it work or not, some persons will put things in your food hoping it will work. And whether you believe it or not, it is there in the food, right? And you might consume it, and maybe it don't cause a particular thing that they expect it to cause, but it can give you a good belly ache because it's not supposed to be in the food, right? It can give you a good belly ache. It can give you diarrhea. It can send you to the hospital. Food is something that you should not mess with, because you're taking it inside your body. It literally is going to become a part of you. Literally. That's what your new cells are going to be made from. That's the raw material you're putting into your body to construct new cells, new tissue, new bone, new everything. And if that food has been tampered with, if that food is not clean, if that food, even just the energy, the vibe, for those of us who are more spiritual that way, just the energy of the place that it has been prepared in, the vibe of the place, the energy of the people who are preparing it. Some of us take it even to that level, right? Some of us take it to that level. So it's not even something literal, physical that you're going to put in the food. But if you feel like you have a bad vibe around you, you're very aggressive, you're very quarrelsome, you're not very progressive, that too can cause people to not want to partake of what you prepare, right? So we have a lot of little sayings in Jamaica to depict that kind of thing. As we said, the wanga gut. When people say your wanga gut, your wanga belly, your licky licky, your nyami nyami, as the title say, right? Those are some of the things. We also say maybe the flip of that, scornful dog, nyam dirty pudding, right? Scornful dog, nyam dirty pudding. It is kind of like the opposite to that. So when you say scornful dog, nyam dirty pudding, you're basically saying, well, you can go on like you nicer than everybody else. You can go on like you better than everybody else. Many times, the ones who act like that, the ones who are all high and mighty and looking down on others and being very scornful, a lot of times they are the ones who are really the dirty-hearted ones. As we say, dirty heart can't wash with broom, can't wash with soap, or dirty heart can't sweep with broom. So in that case, we're looking at this person who is pretending to be above or pretending to be squeaky clean, but in their heart and in their soul, they are not, right? So, scornful dog, nyam dirty pudding. We also have a saying, where eye no see, heart no leap. And by that we mean, what you don't, it's very, this one is very literal, right? You don't see the things that are being prepared. You don't see what's going into them, so you don't know. It's something similar to the saying, what you don't know won't hurt you, right? Where I no see, heart no leap. And a lot of times, especially when you go to restaurants, when you go to fast food diners and so on, you really don't know what's going into it. And if you pay attention to some videos that people, I've seen a lot of videos with persons who used to work in fast food restaurants or still work there, and some of the stories that they tell, and even just common sense, right? That's why they say, try never to upset someone who is preparing your food. You go to a fast food restaurant, try not to get into any argument with the person who's going to go around the back and prepare your food. I remember I was in long ago, 20 odd years ago, right? I was in Cuba, and my children's dad and I, we went to a restaurant and we ordered some fish or something like that. And the chef came out, and he was this white man, right? This white Cuban. And the vibe I was getting from this man, I don't think he said anything overtly racist, but I just got that vibe from him. And when he came out with the food, I could not bring myself to eat. I just couldn't bring myself to eat it, right? And we had ordered this nice fancy meal, and I couldn't eat it because I was just saying, I think we had a conversation, and it kind of went downhill, right? And we just weren't vibing. And I was saying, this man gone on to the back. I don't know what he's doing to the food. I just can't trust to eat that food. And I didn't. When you go to a restaurant, I mean, nowadays you have some establishments where you actually can see the area where they prepare, or some parts of the area where they prepare the food, but most times you can't. You're just taking it for granted that these persons are ethical, and that the food that they're preparing hasn't been tampered with. But if you listen to some of the accounts that people give who used to work in these places, and sometimes they get caught on tape, right? People video them without them knowing, and you see some of the things that they do. It really, really makes you think twice about eating in restaurant, even high-end restaurants, right? Fast food restaurants too. I remember when I was maybe a teenager here in Jamaica, you had this story broke out. This man was in Halfway Tree selling dog meat. I think he was selling either in a patty, or he was selling it like chicken jerkin or something like that. But I think it was in a patty. And this was a very popular establishment. It wasn't a big restaurant, but it was kind of like a roadside thing, because we have a lot of that in Jamaica, right? Soup, maybe, yeah. I don't remember. And everybody used to flock this man, and buy the food. And this big story bursts out that the man was selling dog meat. Now, of course, we know there are persons who eat dog meat in other parts of the world, but here in Jamaica, this is something that is not done. When I say frowned upon, that's an understatement, right? And people were, I mean, I remember those who were brave enough to admit that they had been a part of this, man, they went through it. So they were vomiting, they had belly ache, they had, oh my God, it was a it was a time, right? It was a time. So a lot of we take a lot for granted. Even when you go into the supermarket and you buy these things in their pretty packages, you don't know what the factory situation is. Even though we have the Bureau of Standards, we have people who go around and do their checks, you still can't know for sure. I remember when I was little, my uncle had come to visit, and his cousin was there, right? We were in Ocherias, and he went out, and foreigner come in and they buy up this whole heap of crates of red stripe beer and so on. And I remember his cousin, they were there drinking beer and having a good time, and then all of a sudden he drank the beer and he said, but something in the bottle shaking. What I don't know. Something in the bottle shaking. And when they looked, it was a cockroach in the beer bottle, right? He vomited, he was sick. And sometimes these are not things that are always deliberate. It's just it's just a fact of life. It's a factory condition. These things can happen, and sometimes they are very much deliberate, right? Very much deliberate. You have people who will just for the heck of it. You don't do them anything. They don't know you from anywhere. Just because they are in the position to tamper with your food, they will do it just for the heck of it. You have some persons who they just don't take care of themselves in terms of the general standards of hygiene that we have, and yet they will come and they will want to they take up your baby, they want to kiss your baby, they want to hug up your kids, they want to sit on your bed, they want to come in. Some persons have different standards from you, right? Another saying we have in Jamaica, me no know where your mouth come from, me no know where your hand come from. And you have to just be realistic, especially in today's world where people are more liberal in terms of sexuality. People are more willing to try different things as adults. And when we say we don't know where your mouth come from, we don't know where your hand come from, we don't know where any part of you come from, literally, you don't know. Not everybody has the same standards, right? So I don't take it as an offense. That's the thing with me. I have my standards. Other people have their standards. I don't take it as an offense. If first of all, I don't offer people food. Certain things I don't offer people food, and I don't like when people offer me food, especially food that they have prepared. I don't take it as an offense. I honestly don't, and I don't expect people to take it as an offense. That's just how I am. But then again, I understand if persons may find it offensive. Certain things, I know how I am and I know how people can be. So it's not an issue for me, but certain things I just don't do. Where, like, if I see, sometimes you see somebody, they might get up and they prepare stuff, right? And they just randomly offering it to person. That's something I wouldn't do. That's just not my thing to do. Right? And then you have other persons who that's how they live and they don't see anything wrong with it. And maybe the most other persons don't see anything wrong with it. Right? So I guess it boils down really and truly to personality, who you are, and then for those around you to know you, and for you to try to know the people around you and to know what they will accept, what they won't accept. Another saying that we have in Jamaica, you might hear somebody say, they might be pointing or referring to someone and say, I wouldn't ask him for a glass of water. I wouldn't ask her for a glass of water. But then we also have a saying, when a kill, fatten. When a kill, fatten. And the flip side of that, you would say, well, what about the things that don't fatten? What happened to those things? I remember when I used to walk around and sell my books. This is many, many, many years ago. I used to walk around and the whole of Greater Portmore, from door to door, selling my books. This was like 2000, 2001, right? And I remember I came to this house, and then when I realized who was living there was this lady who I knew many, many years ago, right? Because I'd been walking around selling the books. So I asked her for some water to drink because, I was thirsty. And she gave me some water, but she put the water in a plastic cup, one of those plastic cups that you buy. And it seemed strange to me at the time. I was saying, why? But then I thought about it and I said, this is a sensible thing to do, actually. And this is something that even as I grew up, because at that time I was like just very early 20s coming up, I started practicing that. So even when I have laborers working at my house or anybody passing and wanting water or I just have some plastic cups ready to give them the water. That's a sensible thing to do. Your utensils that you have in your kitchen for yourself and your family, that's not necessarily something you want to give to workmen who are doing some labor in your yard or in your house for that day, or even acquaintances, but you're not close, right, to the family. That's not something that you would necessarily want to share. You have people who do it and they don't think anything of it, right? But like I said, different people have different standards. What are your standards? So I'm asking you, those who are watching, those who are on the live now, and those who will watch in time to come, what are your standards? How do you feel about offering food to persons, food that you have prepared? I know some of us are great cooks and we like to show off our skills. We like to, and we're just very communal, very caring and sharing. And how do you feel about partaking in food that has been prepared in someone's home, or you go to a cookout, you go to a fish fry, or you're passing vendors on the road? Do you have any hang-ups about buying some soup from the vendor on the road, buying some this, buying some that? For me, it depends on the vibe that I get from the place. It depends on the vibe that I get from the person. I remember long ago there was this vendor who I used to buy fruits from many years ago, right? And he used to sell the fruits from his car, And so one day I went to buy the fruits, and he wasn't at the car. The fruits, everything was open. I just didn't see him, and I was wondering where was he? And then I looked and I saw him shaking off, like he had gone to the bush nearby, to the nearby bushes, shaking off his thing. And then he just put the thing back in the pants. No, he did not wash his hands. He just went straight back and came to sell the food. And I remember I said to him, "Did you wash your hands?" Because I saw him, and he knew that I saw him because he wasn't far off from the car. "Did you wash your hands when you come back?" And the man literally said to me, "My bathe this morning. Why I need to wash your hand?" And this is something I come to realize. A lot of men, this is how they feel about. They think that because they had a bath, right? If they go to pee, they take out their thing and they pee. They don't feel like that is they need to wash their hands. I have had conversation because I'm not afraid to ask men certain things, right? To ask anybody certain things. That's just how I am. I don't have hang-ups like that. I'll ask you anything. Talking to men over the years, because sometimes I have my polls and I pose questions to men. I ask, a lot of men don't think that they need to wash their hands after they pee because they think having a shower in the morning and all they did is take out the thing and then shake off the thing. They don't think they need to wash their hands. And this man was there selling fruits, selling the yam and the banana and the orange and the apple and whatever. And this is what I can just imagine. This is what he does on a daily basis. Go in the bush, pee, come back and sell. And then I started wondering, as you go around and you say, even the vendors, you have a lot of vendors on the road. Where did they use the bathroom? I remember I was in the doctor's office once and I saw this lady come in. I know she's still nearby. And she came to use the bathroom. I said, "Oh, so maybe she has some arrangement with the doctor's office to use the bathroom." I know you have some ladies who sell outside of schools. I don't know what kind of arrangement they have, but where do they use the bathroom? Where do they wash their hands? And this is why we have a lot of schools that put up the signs, "No vending," and the municipal office or the city council, wherever, they will try to enforce this, because the fact of the matter is a lot of these persons, they don't have such facilities. They are there right throughout the day. they don't have the facility to go after they respond to the call of nature to clean themselves up, and they're handling food. You have persons with these, they're along the sidewalk, they're selling soup, they're selling chicken, they're selling everything, not a bathroom in sight. For me, that's a no-no. Right, that's a no-no for me. But I guess people see things differently. Teresa says definitely disposables. Food prep and sharing is in my bloodline. I'm very careful about what we about vendors and restaurants, right? So I am the same way. Like I said, it's kind of like you have to strike a balance, because on the one hand, as Teresa said, we are very kind, giving, communal people. We love to share. We love the bonding with our neighbors, our friends, and so on. We have the cookouts, the get-togethers, the barbecues, whatever, and we're sharing that way. But we have to strike a balance now with who do we share with, who do we take from, who do we give to without offending. Because sometimes just offering it is an offense to some persons. Yeah, we have to be really careful. It's a delicate balance. I remember I was living somewhere, and my neighbor, she was doing some construction, and it's a thing in Jamaica where when you have men working at your home, right? A lot of times you have men working at your home doing construction, they digging the foundation, or they're laying blocks, or they're doing the tiling or whatever. It's a norm for a lot of persons. When you have these men working at your home, you would prepare food for them. You'd prepare lunch and give to them. Growing up, that's what I saw happening in the community, right? Like I said, me personally, that's not something I would do, because I'm just very conscious, self-conscious about when it comes to food. I don't offer, and I don't even like to get. I don't. So this lady, there were about three men digging the foundation. She was going to put up a additional part of the house. She was adding on to her house. And so she was there cooking, and then lunchtime came, and she shared out the food and she gave it to the three men. I remember it was rice and something, maybe rice and chicken, or chicken back or something. I remember the rice. And the men took the food, right? She went inside. And I saw these men, they were giggling, right? And they just run and scrape the food in the rubbish. I'll never forget. I'll never forget. The three of them, as soon as she went in, or maybe they time her a little, right? They just scrape the food in the bin, and pretend like they had eaten off the food. And when the lady came back out, and she was collecting the plate, you could see the pleasure on her face. She was so pleased with herself that she had been able to provide lunch for her workers. Oh my goodness. And I was just there. As I said, I lived next door, right? So I was just there watching and I say, look at these men. They're terrible. It would, for me, it's better if you tell the person, no, it's okay, I don't want it. Rather than you let the lady go and she cook this big pot of food, rice and whatever, and pour her love into the food. And then you take the lady's food and throw it in the bin. And then laughing, laughing at the lady. So it's these kind of things, these kind of things that make me really wary of even offering food to people, because I know how some people are. And maybe it's because I saw these kind of things happening, it happened many 20 odd years ago, and I still remember. I remember the men laughing at her. So these kind of things, it made me weary. Added to the fact that sometimes people can just be so vindictive and just so cruel. And sometimes you don't do them anything, Sometimes they don't have any grouse against you. But just because they can, just because they are in the position to tamper with your food, they do it. And then they laugh, or they sit down and wait to see what will happen. Some of them, they intend for you to be harmed. They intend for it, because in their minds, especially persons who believe in necromancy, they believe in the power of these potions, these powders and oil. And these can be strangers, they can be friends, they can be relatives, they can be a close relative. It's just part of our culture, is undeniable. So it's not just the people out there who you don't know, but it can be a very close friend, your bosom buddy, your friend, your pal from school days. You and them are come and they know all your secrets and you know all their secrets and you share everything. It can be them, it can be your family. It's just part of our culture, where sometimes you come in with somebody but you don't want them to go beyond a certain point. If you see them excelling, some people want to hold that person back. Or you're just observing the person, you don't know them like that, but you just don't feel like they should advance. And if you believe in the power of these things, then you might gather whatever portion it is, and to your belief, it will cause this person to be hindered, it will cause them to cut down to size, as we like to put it. Whether these things have that effect or not, they can affect the person physically, in that these are not things that are meant to be in food in the first place. And so they can cause upset to the system. They can actually harm the person physiologically, right? Remember, food is taken on the inside, and this is going to become a part of you. And if you're I'm a very spiritual person, so for me, it goes even beyond that, right? Even beyond that. It goes to the vibe, the spirit that person is coming with, the way they think, how they live, their worldview, all of these things are taken into consideration for me, right? How they treat others, if they're aggressive, if they're not progressive, all of these things are taken into consideration. So if I'm passing an establishment, right, and it's just chaos around, is people doing all kind of, in my opinion, detrimental things. They're drinking things that I wouldn't partake of, or they're smoking, or they're doing, and they have all kind of noise and the type of music, that kind of vibe. For me, whether you think it's crazy or not, but for me, all of that is going into the food. When I am preparing food, all of my love goes into the food. When I'm making juice, for example, I always tell my children call it love juice, because the love and the care that I have for my children, or for whomever I'm preparing it for, that's one of the ways that I most show my affection for someone. I pour all my spirit into preparing, whether it's juice or a meal, all of that love goes into it. So I can imagine on the flip side of that, if someone is hypocritical and if they don't really mean you well and they're preparing something for you, I can imagine all of that negativity is going into that, right? The people who prepare your food have a power over you that we often take for granted. I remember this scene in The Color Purple, where Celie was, I think she was giving water to the white man who had come to take her back into captivity. If my memory serves me right, it's a long time ago I watched that movie. And she spat in the glass of water. She spat in it, and she just use her finger and stir it around and give it to him. That was her way. It was like the only way she knew of rebelling. The only way is like the only resistance that she could put up, right? To her, that was her power over this white man. But it's something that we shouldn't take for granted. It is a power. When you are in the position to prepare food for someone, that's a power you have over that person. As simple as you take it. And whether it's in a restaurant, or it's on the sidewalk, or it's in your kitchen, whoever handles your food, whoever prepares your food, has a certain power over you. And you have to be very careful. You have to be very, very careful. I wanted to share a little passage. I remember the first time I heard this passage, right? It's from the book Annie John by Jamaica Kincaid. It was probably maybe 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago. At that time, I used to more listen to the radio than anything else. I don't think I even had a television set as yet. And someone had given me an audio cassette with Annie John, an audio taping of the book Annie John. This was the last, I think this is the last sentence in the book, if I'm not mistaken, right? So this scenario is her mom. This is a little girl, teenage girl, and she revered her mom. She held her mom up as almost like a god. But her mom was very strict, very stern, and not very affectionate towards her, right? And she longed to please her mom, but the mom kind of held her at a distance. And so there was this part of the book where the mom was trying to teach her how to be a lady, how to dress, how to conduct herself, how to be seen as acceptable, clean and acceptable to others. So mom was telling her about how to handle the bread, and when you go to the baker, how to handle yourself, right? So it says, always squeeze the bread to make sure it's fresh. That's what her mom said to her. Right? Always squeeze the bread to make sure it's fresh. So she says to her mom, but what if the baker won't let me feel the bread? And her mom says, you mean to say that after all, you are really going to be the kind of woman who the baker won't let near the bread? That line, it stood out for me a lot, right? We, especially women, we expect women to be a certain way all the time. You're supposed to be the kind of woman that, or the kind of young lady who the baker won't have any qualms about letting you touch the bread, letting you feel the bread. And it's a standard that we're expected to hold ourselves to and maintain. For me, I don't know for other women, if you force yourself to comply with the standards that society has of you. I know for me, I have my own standards. And if if I refuse to do something and persons take offense, or if I do something and persons take offense, I think about it. I try to understand why they are offended, but I won't necessarily change anything about that to please society, right? I might explain as well as I might not, but this is just my way of doing things. This is me. That's just how I live, right? And I try to understand other persons as well and allow them to live as they see fit to live. I know that we have customs. We live in a society, we have customs, and there are certain things that are dear to us, and there are certain ways that we're inclined to be. We're very sociable, but at the same time, we have to respect other person's boundaries, and we don't need to take everything personal either. If somebody says, well, I don't do this, I don't partake of that, just allow the person to be, just allow the person to have their standards, right? Just as you have yours. So, fam, this is I think this is our first nighttime rap session. We're going to be having this kind of rap session every night. Well, once my schedule allows. So tomorrow at 8 o'clock, we're going to have another topic that we'll be talking about. And I appreciate your input. I appreciate your questions. I appreciate your comments. And I want to thank you for joining me. So look out for another chat session tomorrow and the day after that. Well, I should say the night after that and the night after that, right? And I think it's important for us to talk about these things. And I think it's important for us to be honest and for us to be respectful and sincere, right? Because it's when we share information that we strengthen each other and we let each other know that somebody else feels this way or somebody else is asking this question. It's not just me, I'm not alone. And then we can talk about it and share views, share opinions, share ideas about it. And it will help each of us to understand life a little more, right? We're all on our journeys and it's scary. It's also joyful. So let's make the best of it and let's sharpen each other as we go along. All right, so all the Wanga gut and the Wanga belly people, I'm sure your bellies are full at this hour. So hopefully you don't get any nightmares while you sleep. But enjoy your night and I'll see you tomorrow.